Police are assessing a report they've received against Lee Anderson for hate speech in response to his comments that Islamists had got control of Sadiq Khan. And London's mayor certainly didn't sound like he was going to let it go. This was what he said on LBC this morning.
I've had a number of emotions over the last 6 days. Sad, angry, frustrated, appalled, heartbroken, a lot of different emotions. But it's not about me. Listen,
it is a bit.
Now, if Anderson's comments were supposedly hateful, I'd like to know why the police never investigated this. Here's Labour MP Rupert Huck telling an audience that Kwasi Kwarteng is just superficially black.
Yes, black man. If you hear him on the Today programme, you wouldn't know he's black.
And where were the police when The Guardian printed this sickening cartoon mocking Priti Patel, or when the pro-Palestine mob paraded the flag of jihad through the streets of London? That's right, they were nowhere to be seen. So tonight, I am asking, is the Lee Anderson hate speech investigation a complete and utter waste of police time? Let me know your thoughts. Email me gbviews@gbnews.com, tweet me at gbnews, and make sure you go and vote in our poll. I'll bring you those results very shortly, but first, going head-to-head on this are London retired police officer Norman Brennan and broadcaster Jeni Barnett. Both of you, thank you very, very much. Norman, I'll start with you. Is this hate speech investigation a complete and utter waste of time?
I think it may well be found out to be exactly that. It appears that the police are now used at any and every excuse of anybody in the public eye that says something that upsets somebody. It's straight to the police. I personally believe that if there's an issue here, it should be dealt with in-house within his party. I mean, Islamophobia is a dislike or a prejudice towards Muslims. I think Mr. Anderson was actually asking a question, almost a rhetorical question to a certain degree, of who Sadiq Khan actually answers to, who controls him. I mean, I've been a Londoner for 65 years. I've been a police officer in London for 31 years. And I'll be quite honest with you, I understand why millions of people are actually supporting Lee Anderson, because in all that time under Sadiq Khan, without moving too far away, I've never seen, which is relevant, so much anger, hatred, belligerence, division and revenge. Okay. So much so that I don't recognise the London I once had. And I think Lee Anderson was asking a question, and a good question. Mr. Khan, who do you actually answer to? Because it appears not to be the people in London that he meets.
OK, all right, I'll come back to you, Norman. Look, I'll go to you now, Jeni, on this. I mean, if we're going to investigate Lee Anderson for hate speech on this, and then something happens to him, right? You might as well arrest everyone in every single pub on a Friday or Saturday night in Britain.
No. Lee Anderson has a position of responsibility, and I hear what Mr. B is saying here. But if you are in a position of responsibility and you have several people who don't know where they're going, where they're voting, and if a man like Lee Anderson is stoking up hatred, stoking up racism, it only serves to tipple the country in the way that we're going. And Sunak, will use somebody like Lee Anderson because he wants that racist vote so that it doesn't go to the Reform or to Farage if he stands again. And I think you have to look at what Lee Anderson is.
Jeni, could I just ask on that? Sorry, because I think you have just dismissed millions of people in Britain now as racist. Do you not think maybe you're the problem?
No, I'm not dismissing them. I'm saying there's a whole swathe of people who listen to people like Lee Anderson, who does actually call himself a thug, and he comes out with stuff where people don't know where they're going and they want somebody to lead them. And it's like the Trump playbook, that somebody like Lee Anderson is aggressive, he knows what he wants, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about, but actually he's antisocial, he's anti-humanitarian, and he wants to make trouble. He doesn't care. I mean, all he's doing is lighting the fire. But remember that we're going into an election, and Lee Anderson is a perfect, convenient distraction.
Right, OK. I mean, if it's a distraction, it's not been a particularly good one, I think. But anyway, Norman, your views on what Jeni has had to say there, that, paraphrasing massively, but essentially the police investigation needs to take place because Lee Anderson has essentially whipped up a load of racism and what he said was racist.
But is he? Has he? Or is Lee Anderson... It's Lee Anderson, an MP that's quite well thought of, that says it how he does. I represent policing independently, victims of crime and the public in Britain. I have done for 35 years. Sometimes you have to ask the tough questions. You have to ask the questions that millions of people want to ask. Millions of people live day in and day out with the anger and hatred, and people that have come into Britain and have reduced Britain to a certain degree to a place that many of us that have lived here all our lives no longer recognise, and some of us don't want to live. So if asking difficult questions means that you're likely to be reported by the lefties in Mr Anderson's case, it means that nobody will ever ask the tough questions. And to be quite honest with you, the way Britain is at the moment, I think individuals in Parliament need to ask the tough questions, and it appears that if they do, or when they do, they're under investigation. Well, millions of people are supporting Lee Anderson.
Jeni, look, I'll put it to you that what you're doing is listening to something that you don't like, and you want that person arrested and charged so that you don't ever have to listen to that again.
No, I think he needs to take responsibility for what he does. He has said things like people can survive on 30p a day, talking about people using
criminal, is it? Well, no, that's not criminal. This is my point. You just don't like him, do you?
And that's got nothing to do with he's a son of a miner. My heart goes out with the son of a miner. So and there's part of me, good luck to him for how he speaks, but he is not fit to be an MP. He's not fit to be a politician because he's so out of touch. And to say what he said, Norman, you know, and you said it at the beginning, Islamophobia is the fear of, hatred of, or prejudice against a religious group. What is he so terrified of that he has to ask questions in that way?
I would imagine it's radical Islam.
I'll ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. What does it say if actually it went to a public vote and millions, possibly tens of millions, actually supported Mr Anderson's concerns and views? Yeah. What does that say? Or do we just stop people asking the difficult questions? Because if that's the case, Britain might as well just roll over and put its hands in the air and say we give in.
Yeah, seriously, Jeni, the police have to waste time now investigating everybody who agrees with Lee Anderson? Is that what this is?
Lee Anderson is not an innocent man. He was suspended from the Labour Party because he used boulders to block members of the traveller community for setting up a campsite. That man is not innocent. He knows what he's doing. Yeah. He knows what he's doing, and there's millions of people out there who are disenfranchised, and I don't think that any man that lurches to the right at this time in our
history... Is it a police matter, Jeni? Is it a police matter? Because that's the point.
If you were Sadiq Khan, you'd think it was, wouldn't you?
No.
I think Sadiq Khan is using London as his playground. Mr Anderson has watched him.
Nonsense.
Hang on a sec. I've listened to you. And what he does, he sees that Sadiq Khan is using London for his own projects. And many of us that live in London are wondering who he actually represents. So what Mr Anderson done is ask the difficult questions. And do you know what? I don't mind somebody asking a difficult question. And if he says he was clumsy, OK, he's clumsy. Put that aside. But all the distractors
but he hasn't apologised.
Norman, presumably no police officer wants to investigate Lee Anderson for hate speech over this. Really, seriously. Oh, I think we've lost Norman. Hard to tell. He's just angry. I'll tell you what, we were about out of time anyway, so there we go. Perfect timing in a way. Right, well, that was retired police officer Norman Brennan and broadcaster Jeni Barnett. Both of you, thank you very much for putting up, certainly, two distinct sides to that discussion. Who do you agree with? Is the Lee Anderson hate speech investigation a waste of police time? Sheila on X says... Anderson speaks the truth, and what happens? The Met decide to assess his comments while ignoring anti-Semitic placards and chants on the streets. This proves Anderson was right. Sean says, another waste of public money for Lee, only telling the truth. Pathetic. Is it not two-tier policing, everybody? Is it not? Jason says it's called free speech. End of. Well, not that many different shades of grey in the inbox there, to be fair, but your verdict is in. 95% of you think that the Lee Anderson hate speech investigation is a waste of time. 5% of you say it isn't. Yes, exactly. You would have to throw a net over every single pub in Britain, pretty much, if you wanted to make those conversations a police matter.